What's going on, guys? Welcome to another video. I'm your boy NarikChase, and in this video we're going to be reviewing Godzilla x Kong, The New Empire. Now, generally speaking, when we see these two titans get together, it's absolutely going to be a really fun experience, although sometimes the story does suffer from it. Now, I did have my issues with Godzilla vs. Kong. Even though it was a fun film, some of the writing was just not up to par with the big spectacle of the film, and I was going into this film hoping that wouldn't repeat itself. Unfortunately, it did, and it actually leaned into that even more. The film follows Kong, who encounters more of his species in the Hollow Earth and must unite again with Godzilla to stop their tyrannical Scar King and the powerful frost-breathing Shimo from invading the Earth's surface. There's a lot to like about it. The visual effects are really good. Kong looks really cool. Godzilla looks really cool. The Scar King looks pretty cool. The massive set pieces, the varied environment of the Hollow Earth, the action is captured beautifully. Just basically, this is just a good looking film. They do a great job of illustrating how massive the world is and how inventive and how diverse the Hollow Earth is. And for those who enjoy the spectacle, they're really going to like it. The story is interesting, but it does have a bit of hiccups. And this time around, the characters I thought were better than in Kong vs. Godzilla, but not by much. The acting, for the most part, is pretty decent. Rebecca Hall pretty much carries the film in terms of depth of character, as well as Kaylee Hoddle, who's the little girl. And the bulk of the emotional weight is in their relationship. Now, we do see that relationship kind of mirrored in another form in this film, where in the trailer you get to see Kong and this little small ape, and you get to see this relationship develop between the two, and you see just the living conditions that this little Kong has actually been living through, and you just see that it's just growing. And I love that. For those who watch this film, you'll see that there is this thing where even though Godzilla's in the film, this is a Kong film. It's about him exploring, finding his people, trying to adapt to the life that he's not had because he's been in isolation for most of his life. And it's interesting seeing these dynamics with these other Kongs. You see how initially when they're antagonistic to him and he's not wanting to fight them. And then you see how they're under the rule of the Scar King. And let me just say this. The Scar King is an interesting character, because you think he would feel much more of a threat than what he is. Not to say he's not a threat. When you see him go toe-to-toe with Kong, there's clearly some advantages that Kong does have, but I like that the Scar King can get around that. So, and then just see how he's able to control these group of apes and everything. Just the Scar King is an interesting character. I feel like he should have been built up a bit more, but he's actually probably one of the better villains in the series. And that's pretty much where everything kind of goes as far as good. Now, I'm not saying there's not no alright parts, but because it is. Like I said, plenty of action, monster fighting action and everything. But this where the writing starts to show its faults. For one, this is not a Godzilla and a Kong film, and it should not have been a film. It actually feels like 3 movies in one. You got the aspect of the little girl finding her roots and these ancient people that stay down there who she's related to. You've got Godzilla just kind of chilling on the surface, dealing with a monster or two on the surface. And then you got Kong in the Hollow Earth. And this should not have been a Godzilla x Kong, the New Empire. What it should have been is Kong, the New Empire. The bulk of the film is following him, and the whole story should have revolved around, hey, he's been in isolation so long, he comes across others of his species, and now he's fighting to overthrow this ruler of this species. That's the most logical way that this movie could have been. And also, with the Godzilla aspect of it, there is a story to be told in this film with Godzilla. Unfortunately, you try to mesh that in with the Kong, and instead of two good movies, you put them together to make a subpar movie. Because there is a new creature called Shimo who's an ice monster. And what they should have done in the film pretty much is have Godzilla battle this ice monster, lose because it's actually bigger and possibly more powerful than Godzilla. And there is kind of a MacGuffin that pops up in the story, which Godzilla could have utilized to again fight this creature and overcome it. That's one thing I'm starting to see with these whole Godzilla and Kong films. They're trying to do way too much. A lot of the premises are pretty simple and could be utilized more effectively if they focused just focus their efforts on telling a good story with what they have, and not try to just put these two characters together for just all this over the top stuff. It's the same thing I said about Godzilla versus Kong. They put the whole Hollow Earth in it when it shouldn't even been in it, and it just makes the story just disjointed. That whole moment of him being in the Hollow Earth should just been on Skull Island. So this film feels like they just put too much into it, and it just makes it just this big bloated mess. There's also another thing that I'm starting to see as well, and the first two films the first three films kind of didn't balanced it better. But the last film, Godzilla vs. Kong, I started to see it kind of more and more poke his head out. And that's the scaling of these giant beasts. These monsters should be always put in a position to look larger than what they are. And the way the camera focuses on them is both a good thing to illustrate feelings and just to give us more insight into the creatures themselves. But the problem is with that, it makes them less big. It makes them seem like they're normal. When you're looking at Kong walking amongst these great apes, it doesn't look like they're giants. They look like they're just regular sized apes that walk like people. And then there's the scene, of course, everybody saw the scene with Godzilla and Kong running. And if that was probably shot in a more humor viewed way, I think it would have made it look better. It's just the fact that the scaling just feels so off because of the focus of the characters, and not in a clever way to illustrate their massive bodies. You know what I'm saying? So I enjoyed a lot of the action. I enjoyed some aspects of the story. But the writing and the story in these films are just plain horrible. And I'm sure with the Supernova one that's coming out, the fact that these two characters are again having to team up, they're starting to kind of lose me with the whole MonsterVerse, because I love the MonsterVerse. The idea of it, it's really, really good. The problem is just the writing. At first it was like, okay, the main characters were kind of getting in the way of a good story. Now it's not the characters getting in the way, it's just the writing around all these big events that are getting in the way. And Godzilla and Kong have enough weight to both of them to actually carry their own movies, so we don't have to keep teaming them up. What, after Supernova they're going to team up for a fourth film? It's like, no, you don't have to do that. So having said that, like I said, I thought the film was okay. I thought it was entertaining enough, like I would watch it again. I wouldn't buy it, but I definitely watch it again, because like I said, there are some pretty cool action sequences. If you want monster on monster fights, this is definitely the film, because there's a lot of fights in this film. But it's so bogged down with just all of this stuff that they're trying to fit into this, the whole Hollow Earth, the different Hollow Earths within the Hollow Earth, this civilization that's down here, this ancient prophecy, this giant monster, all of these monsters across the world, Godzilla and Kong, ancient people, beats that reverberate through the Hollow Earth, this psychic link. Just, it's like, slow the hell down. We don't need all of that stuff. You could easily, just like I said, just made this a Kong film exploring the Hollow Earth and him encountering more of his kind. Or Godzilla doing his thing, Shimo shows up, and again, the MacGuffin fights ensue with that. That would have been, and then the thing about the Shimo idea is, because I feel like the Shimo idea could have played up the whole Ice Age theory. But again, poor writing. So I have to say this. Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire, is entertaining but heavily flawed, especially with the writing. It still has a lot of enjoyment. There are some good moments here with the characters, with Kong, and even here with Godzilla once or twice. But it's just the writing is just so bogged down with just too much and not being able to focus on itself or even trim down a bit of the fat, which they desperately need to do. And I hope that the Supernova film just isn't as bloated. But having said that, Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire deserves 2 out of 5. I'm all for action and stuff, but I got to have better writing. I gotta have the better writing. You gotta do something with this. Having said that, though, guys, in the comment section below, let me know, what are your thoughts? Did you like Godzilla X Kong, the New Empire? Did you not like it? What did you like? Did you like the Scar King? Did you like Shimo? Did you even think the ideas that I presented would actually make for a much better film? Be sure to hit that like, share, subscribe, and that notification button to get the best of what we got going on this channel, and we'll definitely catch you guys later.